Tonight on Nights.
Now here's a good show.
We got a white Bronco heading.
We're back with Sunday Night's Talks. I don't know whether I should keep it plural or singular here, but anyways, we're back with the Black Knight, me,
Hello.
the Red Knight from Brothers Grin, and we've got Tom Highland or Highlandian. We'll just say the Eagle Knight. He's American and everything.
Maybe we'll say that he's the Azure Knight. I don't know. What's your favorite color, Tom?
My favorite car? I never was much into cars. I was more into because I really don't drive myself. So, like a Dodge Challenger.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah.
The Challenger Knight.
The Challenger Knight. Here we go.
All right.
Particularly the Vanishing Point car. If you ever seen Vanishing Point.
Yeah.
No.
Oh.
Well, something big happened this week. Something really big. Well, there's been a few big things. I think maybe we should, as we're all writers, we're going to start this narratively from the beginning. I'll just have to try to switch this because that light is too bright. Anyways, we're going to try this narratively. So, I believe we had, how do I put it? Now, I don't know the guy's channel, but he apparently has a big Instagram channel, and he adopted a pet raccoon, a squirrel, and 300 other animals. And yeah, you know what I mean. And
Yep.
This is something that sparked a lot of online rage and anger, as well as should.
Yeah.
And the police were called in and sequestered the man and his lovely German wife outside, and they were, forbidden from entering until they had ransacked the place. And we've got a poem to read about this, but I'll first just finish up and say the squirrel was tragically, I'll use the word murdered. Now, I don't like squirrels. In the local area, they tend to pick on my dogs and torment them. Sometimes just staying out of leash reach, and the dogs start freaking out, and they'll just climb up the tree. They're jerks, basically.
Assholes.
Yeah. But they also dig under property. We've got holes in our house and holes in the neighbor's house, which have caused some permanent structural damage, and they'll need to be repaired. But it could cost a lot of money. But in this case, Peanut, the squirrel, was an innocent and was a housebroken pet, along with a raccoon, which was apparently housebroken. I didn't know they could be housebroken. Raccoons, I mean.
Yeah, we can.
Oh, I didn't. Yeah, like I said, I didn't know. But this seemed excessive. They killed Fred the raccoon en route for the squirrel, and then murdered the squirrel after, they euthanized it, which basically means
Quote
murder.
unquote euthanize it. Yeah.
Yeah. Thoughts?
Ooh.
What do you guys think?
Well, I normally I would not have a pet like that, but let me tell you something. Just the whole, when I was reading about it, it's like, this is an example of groupthink gone wrong, because you really have multiple departments of the agencies in the state of New York and the federal government that were thinking as a group instead of someone stepping in thinking, well, under the circumstances, it's fine, let's leave it. And 9 times out of 10, or I should say 100% of the time, groupthink doesn't really end really well when you're thinking of getting things done.
Oh yeah, yeah. I can tell you a bit about it, like from our experience with the not real communism. Yeah. So yeah, groupthink, no. But from what I read before I wrote the haiku, it was not only like a really horrible example of groupthink, but also laziness and overreach, government overreach, agency overreach, and the bureaucrats, they were just I don't know.
They're soulless.
Yeah. They many of them are quite soulless, and they kind of like, "Ooh, we have a regulation for this. Let's follow it to the letter without even thinking about it." Like this is, we're gonna win brownie points before the top bureaucrats, and eventually they will promote us. And this is like part of the group thing that you Tom mentioned. Is it okay if I call you Tom?
That's okay.
Yeah. So yeah, this is like one of our sad experiences, the usual experiences with the apparatchiks, the communist bureaucrats. They were even worse. They were even worse than that, because your bureaucrats, they kill pets. Our bureaucrats, they send people to involuntary vacation camps. Yeah. So or did other things. So yeah, this is. Have you, by the way, have you seen the quote unquote lady in charge of that agency?
I haven't. What about
with the uniform and the smug smile and the hollow eyes? It's like she looks the part. She looks the part of the concentration guard. You just
the trouble is with I read a bit of some of what happened with the gulags just out of, well, a few years ago I felt I had to, out of curiosity of what the left is capable of.
Everyone has to.
It's horrible. C'est horrifiant. But as to the haiku, a happy squirrel murdered by degenerates, say my name, Peanut. I thought I had restacked it, and apparently I hadn't, because I saw it, but I thought I had restacked it. But I finally restacked and liked it. But this is... I'll say this. It made me think of our dog, and I thank God I live in the countryside with him, but even then I would prefer him to be even more in the rural, up in the woods even more, because in Canada a single complaint in you have to put your dog down.
That's disgusting.
But the thing is, well, that's if PETA gets involved. If PETA does not get involved, you might have a fighting chance. And I know that because our families had to deal with that sort of thing.
Wait.
Oh, no.
PETA?
In the past.
Aren't they supposed to save animals?
They're not really interested.
Oh, they're saving them by murdering them, right?
Yeah, there's some sort of weird psychology like that. Like,
Oh.
it's the whole Soviet thing. We're going to bring equality to every member of the Soviet Union. But we're going to do this by sending you off to Siberia to freeze to death and die if you have the remotest, slightest disagreement, or we just don't like the way you look at us.
Yeah, we'll all be equally miserable except the party brass.
I don't understand. Like, that's the thing about liberalism. I don't understand it. Every liberal faith, conservatism, communism, liberalism. I know I shouldn't be grouping them all together, but it seems like they're all part of the same religious structure, and they all turn out the same way. eventually. And like it seems like only, I don't know, Franco seemed to figure it out and kept to a nationalistic, obsessively Catholic system.
Well, another thing too, if you're thinking in terms of, have you ever read Frank Herbert's Dune books?
A little. I couldn't really get into it.
Black
my cup of
Knight?
tea.
Yeah, I've read most of them.
Because the whole thing, you look at the whole cycle of the original Dune books was how the first book you have a revolution to end an injustice, and then as the books progress, the years progress, a new revolution breeds to overthrow the new injustice that took over the previous injustice. It's like a circle, a cycle. One thing after another.
Yes, and everything is enabled by idiocy.
Like it's pretty much said it. I forget what it's called, but America, my country, there's like an 80-year cycle, like where
turning.
turning. Yes.
Yeah, I read that book.
Turning,
it was interesting.
After the first turning, what the end of the first 80-year cycle, we had the Civil War. The second 80 years was World War II, and now we're at the point where there's where we're having another turning right now, which it could either be a civil war or a world war or a combination of both, or if we're lucky, if things go right with
could be a reformation, Tom.
I'm sorry, what?
It could be a massive reformation.
It could mean like a bloodless revolution within the government, and because already there's talk that he wants to abolish the income tax.
Oh, thank God.
Let's
hope that spreads to the entire empire. Actually, the interesting thing about the turning idea was how if you apply it to other countries, like say Rome, every 80 years Rome had a kind of big pivotal event. You had the Punic Wars, then after them you had the overthrow of the heroes of the Punic War. 80 years after that, you've got the overthrow, not the overthrow of the Gracchi brothers exactly, but you've got the overthrow of Marius and kind of the Gracchi-Marian structure. And then a few generations after that, you have Augustus. 80 years after Augustus takes over, you've got pretty much the end of the Julio-Claudian dynasty. Then 80 years after that, you've got, the shift to the more, to Marcus Aurelius's line. 80 years after that, you've pretty much got Diocletian. 80 years after that, you know what I mean? Like, that's the interesting thing about the theory. It applies to a lot of countries. I'm not trying to, attack
Marcus
America.
Aurelius was considered the fifth in what was considered 5 consecutive good emperors that Rome had in a row.
And he shifted... Now, around his time, there was more conflict along the northern Germanic border, is what I mean.
Oh, because they were still in their expansionist phase. It just wasn't until when
they had stopped.
They stopped it because his son Commodus.
No. Oh,
what?
They stopped expanding during Hadrian's reign, but now they were having to struggle just to keep the border. And the shift of adoptive emperors to non-adoptive, Aurelius began that with Commodus, as you were going to point out, Tom.
Yeah, so and that was pretty much the beginning of the fall.
Yeah, and you have, let's say, French history. You have Philippe Auguste takes over, let's say, from his dad in 1180, and 80 years after that, you've got the death of Saint Louis, and that system of government starts to change. 80 years after that, 100 Years' War. So,
the 100 Years' War, yeah.
Yeah, so this sort of these turnings happen. It's a full, I don't want to say generation, but in a way, it's like a full generation. But
the 100 Years' War was literally like mad. This is It's unique.
Technically, it starts with. I would argue it technically starts around 1297 with Edward I versus the Scots. And the reason I say that is because the conflict of the Scots did not stop until the reign of James I. And it was shipped over, and the conflict shifted focus more towards in France, where the Scots would dispatch troops to defend the French and the English would fight the Scots. But it also starts for the French side of things in 1337.
The Scot Foreign Legion.
But at the same time, the French sent troops to aid and assist in the war against England in the Scottish Wars of Independence. I had considered a series of videos down the road just expanding on this theory that 100 Years' War is actually like 150 years. I've been working on the theory with a friend from England who ironically prefers kind of to an extent the side of the French more than the English, but he's the biggest Francophile I've ever met. But the next event was, let me see if I can manage to present the video. The next big thing was, we're going to play a little fast and loose with this because I got to shift over to
Here you go.
Yeah, I watched that with the kids. Like
the roller coaster's gonna start.
The cancer. Yeah.
All right,
that
here it is.
Nice.
Let me shift the video quality. I'll go here.
Yeah, that's fine.
Because I got you the best president you'll ever have. This is the best president you'll ever have. How are you? Bob? Hi, Mom. Okay, honey, this is yours. And in there is real good stuff. Okay? So beautiful. See, look at that. Look at these great photographers. And we're going to have that picture for life, okay? You and I. Is you going to come out and watch me?
Of course.
Because I left the stage in order to come and say hello to him.
Especially you are.
Okay, honey? So beautiful. So you take care of Mom and Dad? Is that your sister, right?
Takes care of us a lot right here.
So why don't you do this? Take care of yourselves. Okay, I'm gonna go right after
Okay,
this.
thank you.
Take care of yourself, honey, okay? I wish I looked like that. If I looked like that, I'd be president. Very beautiful little boy who went through hell. But I brought him some presents. That's why I was late for you today. I brought him presents. Liam LaCastro is here, and he is a great young man. He's gone through a lot, but he's going to be better soon, right, Liam? And I got him the most beautiful present.
This is a side of Donald Trump that nobody gets to see. They hear the guy on stage and they hear the way the media portrays him. But you know what? There are thousands, tens of thousands of stories like this about Donald Trump that he never asks for credit for, never doesn't want credit for them. He just does it because he's a...
Now, I'm actually going to say he did take credit here, though.
Yeah, but
I'm joking. But
kind of.
Yeah. But
he wouldn't have probably if it wasn't the elections. He wouldn't have. Yeah, he would have just.
Well, what's interesting is how Macaulay Culkin talks positively of him.
Until he became president.
Oh, I thought he was still talking positively of him. No? Oh.
I heard he turned on him.
Oh, that's a shame.
I don't know. I didn't know.
I don't know. What's interesting, though, is, every time I talk to an American, generally, it seems like Trump's the most popular president you guys talk about since Ronnie Reagan.
Yeah.
And I've even talked to some Democrat friends, and then the minute I bring up, I ask, so what do you think of Ronnie Reagan? They get starry-eyed. I'm just saying that's the thing. Like every American I've ever met loves Reagan, except for one or two, and Trump seems to.
Hollywood.
Yeah, Hollywood hates him. I don't fully understand it, but I know
they're stupid. That's why.
Yeah, but Trump seems to elicit a lot of positive affection, except from Twitter. Twitter's weird. And Substack is on fire with people complaining about Trump, but I haven't seen people complaining about Trump. Everybody's just, I guess, blowing him. Like I would argue, I'll just play devil's advocate. I would argue Canada has more reason to complain about Trump than really any other country, just on the basis of the Northwest Territories, because Obama started the trend of meddling with our internal waters and not wanting to recognize our sovereignty over them. Trump continued the policy on the council of Mike Pompeo, and this has led to some squabbling between Canada and U.S. Now, I don't like Trudeau, but Trudeau's the first prime minister that, when the presidents come into the, to meddle with this stuff, says, back off, it's our internal waters. You don't, you can't touch it. And the reason this is contentious is because you have the Arctic Passage, which is going to melt soon, and you've got a new kind of Panama Bay. And the hope Canada has is to invest in that and render the Suez Canal obsolete. But the thing
Panama
is,
Canal, you mean?
Nope, Suez Canal will be useless because Asian trade will go directly to Europe. But Panama will also be rendered semi-useless as well. So both will be useless because Canada will have that Arctic Passage. But Obama and Trump have put up a protest to this and told the UN do not recognize it. So it's being contested, which impoverishes Canada, which means we don't get access to our Arctic trade. We can't develop it. We don't have the investment for it, which means we sink into disrepair. Harper agreed to this because he's Harper. He was our Obama. Trudeau, I think, just likes to argue with people. But no, I'm not saying this to say I like Trudeau. I'm just saying it is what it is. Trump is looking out for American interest. He's not the Canadian prime minister. What does he care? But on the other hand, this puts us, I'd say Canada has a good reason to complain about that. But from another perspective, the past 4 years have not been fun because, well, your southern border has been open and the cartel is going all the way up to Quebec. And this leads to all sorts of mob and mobster fighting in Quebec City and Montreal. And this leads to also struggles within Canada, and it leads to squabbling along the border. No one likes that. So Trump will probably close down that border, thank heavens. So, I'm just saying. Now, Bulgaria, ironically, you guys are completely unaffected for the most part by any of this.
Well,
oh no.
Let's say that we are.
Okay. Bulgaria most affected.
No, not most affected, but affected in the way that we have like illegal mass migration from Africa and the Middle East. Which
I didn't know.
It's not normal migration. We always had this. Like we always had this migration. Yeah. We had a lot of people coming from Africa, and they studied here. They were given like permanent citizenship. They studied here. They had jobs, and then they came back. They returned back to Africa. We also had like lots of Arabs, and a lot of Syrian Christians.
Yeah.
And in the beginning of that like new wave of migration, it was like the first people who ran away from Syria were Syrian Christians, and they did not go to like the western part of Europe. Most of them, they remained here because they had previous connections. They had friends and then family who would have stayed here and got citizenship. But like the second part of this migration wasn't actually real Syrians. They were Somalis and others who just lied. They said like, ah, yes, we are from Syria, and their destination was Germany, and that was also during that time when Angela Merkel said like, come here, come to us, come all of you, and now they're fucked. By the way, Germany's government collapsed soon after Trump got elected.
Oh.
Yeah, they had a coalition they created to defeat the to counter the win of AfD, which got the popular vote. And they created a coalition, just like they created a coalition in France when was it Marie Le Pen when she won.
Yeah.
Partially, yeah, they made a coalition to take the win away, and this they can do, but only once. They can do it. The political system allows it, but it's a swindle, it's a manipulation, and the people like there are people who did not vote or people who voted independent, and these people will no longer be undecided next time, and they will lose. Like, and so yeah, this is one of the things that affects us a lot. And while Trump was president, we had a much more stable situation here. The economy improved.
Yeah, I only
this is.
Now I knew people.
This is why I said that we are affected. We're not the most affected, but
yeah, I knew people stopped by, but I didn't know you guys were suffering from. Okay, I'm going to differentiate between migration and invasion, from pretty much an invasion, and the invasion aspect is far worse than. People who go to school and then go back home, because now it's permanent, and when you get one, you get like 250. And the trouble is, you wouldn't want someone breaking into your home, and that's what I guess this is. What is interesting from a purely sociological and historical perspective is how each country is reacting differently in response to this. And it's interesting that the Slavs are a little more, for the most part, I don't want to say furious, but
that's the correct word.
But on the other hand, I've seen Dan and I pay attention to the French news, and the French have burnt down their own towns as much as the foreigners have. So, and they even broke into a BlackRock building at one point and burnt a huge chunk of that down. So the French are reacting with white hot rage, same as the Irish and Scots. The Slavs are reacting, I'd say, more coldly. I don't know if that's better, like with cold fury. I don't know if that's a better description.
Yeah, it's the legacy of so many
generations.
Yeah, this is like more like the indifferent fuck you rage.
Yeah. But with the political correctness language, it seems, the Slavic East of Europe is handling this a little better. Whereas Western Europe, Germany's sparked into a white hot fury recently. France has been angry all the time. Same with Ireland. But what I find is, what Dan and I were joking the other day is, if we can wake up the Spanish from their nap, they'll probably get angry. But that's an old joke about how the Spanish well, if they do tax evasion, they go to their mother's place and sleep it off. If they skip work, they're just going home to sleep in the middle of the day. But it's because the Spanish are they like their cat naps. But I don't know if you're familiar with the Spanish culture. I love them, but I have to pick on them.
They like their little siestas.
Yeah, that's the term, siesta. And
yeah, that's it's very true. When my mom went to Spain, she said, like, yeah, they're sleeping a bit, like too long. I can't find anything open. It's like it's, and I'm like, but mom, it's too hot. That's why they're sleeping. Like there is a reason. It's so fucking hot. It's like what can you do? You're just like walk around and get a sunstroke or fall and then break your teeth or like just die maybe.
But what's interesting about them is you don't want the Spanish to always wake up, because if they wake up, they conquer the world. But they're also interesting because from what I've seen, their solution when I've looked up their news in French has been to send a lot of the migrants over into a war outside of a few towns and just left to starve to death or to die of heat stroke. They're kind of handling this, I think, a little better than everyone else, if in more brutal fashion. I don't think they really care. I don't know how else to describe it. I don't think they really care.
They don't have disposable income from ink and gold to waste on illegal migration. They spent it long ago. They spent it all
on paintings, architecture, and what else? Fighting, I think, Ottomans.
Fighting bulls too.
Yeah. They used their money better than we did. But yeah, so Trump won. I think this will be good.
The landslide, by the way.
Oh yeah.
The Slavic East is probably overjoyed because it means the hornet's nest gets to rest easy. I mean, no offense, but your part of the world is a hornet's nest, Black Knight. And the entire
Do you know why? By the way, do you know why?
The ancient blood
because
feuds.
It's well, if you look at let's say Yugoslavia, things in Yugoslavia were okayish in the beginning, but when certain groups began like poking around where they shouldn't have, and they awakened all of these old blood feuds. Excuse me. So the lesson is leave the Balkans alone. Don't fuck around with the Balkans. Just leave us the fuck alone. We'll eat our we'll go to Serbia. We'll drink rakia with the Serbs. We'll eat the pleskavica. They'll come here. They'll eat moussaka. We'll then go to Greece and eat lukanica and like,
enjoy the beaches because Greece.
Yeah, that's like, or go to Romania and have some tender, juicy mangalica pig meat, pork meat. We'll dance some like folk dances, which are quite
fun and cool.
Yeah, fun. But when people start introducing things that they shouldn't have, or poke around and like try to promote certain figures here, and it's like, no, why the fuck are you like, no.
It goes from the land of folk dances to the land of knives.
Yeah, the land of knives and AKs.
Sure, you can call Texas the land of guns.
Try coming here. Like some of the peasants may still have like panzers left from World War II.
Yeah.
Still operational.
There was a German guy a while back. He was like 80. He had repaired an entire Panzer tank from scrap, and he got arrested a while back and fined 200,000 euros, I think. It was remarkable seeing that in the news, or at least in the newspaper online. But what's interesting is how the Balkan East considers Germany non-Slavic, but when I speak to a lot of Germans, they consider that they have more in common with the Slavic East than, like, at least in Bavaria. Bavaria in East Germany considers itself almost more Slavic than West Germany does. But North Germany considers itself to have more in common with Denmark. Such a strange land.
Yes, the land of bratwurst and beer.
Teutoburg and everything.
Schnitzel.
But the only, well, as to the French, France herself only really has, looking at the historic record, the feud over Verdun, which should be French, and kind of England, but the English thing is kind of settled, but it's occasionally reopened. And Germany, that's, thanks to Charles de Gaulle, been settled very thoroughly. So that now there's, whenever I talk to Germans, there's a strong sense that there should be some sort of not unity, but a fraternal alliance of sorts between France and Deutschland. The only thing is, I also notice Italy's often picking fights with France. I don't know why. But hey, Italy wants to lose the Po Valley, so if they're masochists, let them be. I'm joking there to all Italians. I'm joking. That's another old feud between France and Italy, the Po Valley. So, like, Europe's that's something that I remember telling someone on Twitter. Europe's a very ancient land. The feuds run very deep. They're very old. Because I've noticed some Americans on Twitter commenting, Europeans cannot possibly understand nationalism like we do. And it's like, oof.
Really?
Like, just Germany alone.
Sweet summer child. Sweet summer child.
Asia, in particular, China and Japan are much older than Europe, and it's actually believed that it was the Chinese that invented the mafia.
Well, there is something. Yeah, but what I was going to say was Germany and France, every time they go to war, like from the Bismarck period to World War II, what do? They burnt Africa, they burnt the Middle East, they burnt Europe and Asia all to the ground. And Dan and I were talking about that. Like, when France and Germany start scrapping, well, now the entire planet's going to blow up, basically. Because, like, all the places that were involved in those wars. But the transition to Trump will I don't see there being too much conflict like that, thank heavens.
Well, don't underestimate the power of a tariff to get somebody to back down from a fight.
Well, there is that. But I was also going to comment, though, that what's funny is that Biden has completely surrendered.
Did you watch, by the way? Did you watch his speech?
Yeah, it was funny.
He didn't even sound like the old Biden. He sounded completely different. He was coherent. He could string a sentence, a complete sentence.
Better than I could do.
And I was like, what?
You know what it was? I'll tell you what it was. It was the fact that he's thinking, I'm the only man that beat Donald Trump in 2020, and they stabbed me in the back, so I'm gonna. So he basically submarined I believe he really did a lot of backstabbing with Kamala and Pelosi and them when they threw him over the hill, and he's like, I would have beat him. He's got that that old crutchy attitude. I would have beat him. But
Yeah,
the
he wouldn't have.
reality is that the election would have gotten much worse if he would have stayed in. But they should have had like a primary a year before a year ago to but still, even then, I don't think they would have won.
No, they wouldn't have. Yeah, it was impossible for them to win. They wasted all of their bribe money and
political capital.
all of all of the little quote unquote election tricks during the last election. They used everything. So right now, the people were already prepared for all of this, and they were basically watching them like literal hawks.
Oh yeah.
See,
there was like one truck. There was one fucking truck that threw away the mail-in ballots and burned them, and they got this. Like they got him in a couple of hours, like even less than 2 hours. Like it was already behind bars.
Schwetzil come.
Well, see, there's
Americans
3 times,
really sharp-eyed this time. No, like
3
you guys were
times
watching
in America's history where like shortly before an election we would switch out a candidate. The 2 notable times before, they were all done by the Democrats, by the way. In '68, when
imagine my shock.
What?
Imagine my shock.
Yeah.
What?
Imagine
my shock.
Well, in '68, when LBJ saw the writing on the wall and he was just kind of browbeaten from Vietnam and everything, he announced, I think it was like 5 or 6 months before the election, he was dropping out, and they replaced him then. And then, and in '72, when Nixon was running for re-election, and I forget the name of the guy he was running against. I think it was George McGovern, and from Minnesota, North Dakota, or South Dakota, from around that area. His vice president that he had running with him, it came out that he had a mental breakdown, and he was actually in a psychiatric ward and underwent psychiatric shock therapy. It's like, oh, we can't have that. So they took him off and put somebody else in like a month before.
I'll just say, in their defense, that last one kind of makes sense.
Yeah, but you just know they should have better fact checkers if it ever came down to that back then. Even that was like,
yeah.
I don't know. She was even during the primaries she won nothing. I mean, she didn't got like even one delegate or something that if I remember correctly. It was pathetic.
The ironic thing is, every time the Democrats have screwed around with the system to try to cheat their way around, like they did in '68 and '72, and even recently, they lost in a landslide.
Yeah. It makes me wonder, though, in 2028, where are they going to pull out? Like, someone told me on Substack today, it'll probably be someone connected to the Obamas, which, okay. But I'll just give my thoughts. It's possible, but the thing is, as it is, the Bidens kind of threw an atomic bomb into the mix, because you have according to Morg Thorak over on Substack, really good Substacker on political stuff, you've got the Clintons, the Obamas kind of feuding. You've got the Bidens who kind of backstabbed them just as they were backstabbed. It looks like the Democrats are feuding and are disorganized and are routed. They will, however, pull out another candidate whenever it looks like a political party is utterly smashed in history, and if you do not deal the finishing blow and dissolve the party or something, you will lose the next election, no matter what. And that's because they rally. They find themselves someone who can channel the, I don't want to say energy, but who can rally the party and a good chunk of the country, and they just become the underdog and they sweep themselves to victory. Never underestimate an underdog or a backed up fox that's in a corner. And the thing is, short of dissolving the Democrat Party forcibly, my view is they will win 2028. And I know people will say, no, it's impossible. But it's just if either 2028 or 2032, only because they'll rally. And that is the problem. If you get cocky and you don't, if you underestimate them and you get complacent, you'll lose the next one. Now, I'm not saying it's inevitable.
It depends. It'll either be 2028. I don't think it's going to be 2020. I can tell you that right now, because the whole party right now has been hijacked by the radical hard left.
Yeah.
And and the rest of the party is starting to wake up slowly, but not fully, that, wait a minute, maybe we shouldn't see control of our party to the fringe left who focus on like the transgender issues instead of people that want to have enough money to pay for their groceries.
Or extreme race politics and that kind of divisive, like ultra divisive bullshit.
There is still the Democratic Party right now, if I'm looking at it today, is splintered to where there's going to be, like, the next 4 or 8 years, there's going to be an internal civil war within the Democratic Party. It's going to be like a Game of Thrones bloodbath on who will take control, because you will still have, like, the Obamas, the Clintons, who are part of that or the Bernie Sanders, who's not even a Democrat, by the way, but still has a lot of say. They still have a lot of power, and they just won't give that up. Not unless they're taken out. And but it depends too, and like Reagan said, it's the economy, stupid. 4 years from now, if the economy is going really good and J.D. Vance is really good as VP, and he picks a good VP like they're saying, the potential VP they're already running out there is Tulsi Gabbard, who was a Democrat that recently became a Republican. He picks her as his running mate, and then she goes into the next. She would. Vance would have 2 terms, and if the economy's going well at the end of his 2 terms, Gabbard, she'll probably pick someone like maybe DeSantis or something like that, and then she'll have a thing for 8 years. This is going to be like when the thing with Reagan, when Reagan came in, he had 12 years. 12 years of Reagan, but Bush Senior only lost because of the third party candidate Ross Perot in '92. But potentially, had Ross Perot not run, and you would have had probably another 8 to 12 years, another 12 years of Republican rule, probably into the early 2000s.
Well, my problem with the Gabbard thing is she's not on the right side. I know people want to delude themselves into believing that. She's not. She's a Democrat. And I say that very firmly. She's not on your side. She's a World Economic Forum young leader, which means she was raised a certain way. She was trained a certain way. She was educated a certain way.
But she was in the military, and she's still active in the military.
Yeah, but to elect her is to elect your enemy. Mark my words, Republicans elect her, they will live to regret it. And
Well, the person we would live to regret would be that Nikki Haley,
Oh, that'd be even worse.
because she is a straight up neocon.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. He's heavy neocon.
But Gabbard is not a neocon.
Officially. And the only reason I'm going to say, let's be careful of wolves in sheep's clothing is, let's bear in mind there have been those who, how do I put it? In Canada, we had Stephen Harper, who came in for the Conservative Party, but ruled as a liberal. And before that, we had Jean Chrétien, who was a liberal, but ruled as a conservative. These sort of people, when it comes to politicians, sometimes they'll say one thing and then do another. And you look at Bush Jr., he came in as a conservative, but he ruled as a Democrat.
Well, here's another thing to consider too. If at the end of Vance's second term or something, there is the talk that Eric Trump might run for president now. His one son, and his wife Laura Trump is the head of the RNC, and she is the big reason why we've had some good gains within a party, because prior to her, we had Ronna McDaniel, we had loss after loss after loss, and it wasn't until Vivek Ramaswamy on live TV on a debate said, "You know what? I'm sick and tired of losing. We need to dump Ronna McDaniel. In fact, I will hand the podium to her if she wants to come up and resign right now, because she has done such a horrible job making sure that we win, because I am sick and tired of losing."
Yeah, he is. I mean, he's a lot of fun.
Vivek Ramaswamy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He might be a good. He's another good potential too.
Yeah. He's
also a businessman, a successful businessman.
Yeah.
Yes, he is in the same caliber as Trump in that regard. He's what?
He's smart too.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we don't know what the future holds. For now, we'll probably have 4 good years, and hey, in some ways that's more than enough. Like, especially after these past 4 years. Oof.
Yeah, don't remind me.
Yeah.
But I am hopeful that because we have essentially got 53 seats in the Senate, we need 51 to get the majority. If we might get 54, if we can get 50, even with 53, we're rocking on the Senate. But the House, we need 218. I think we're at 212 right now, or 211. But even if we don't get the 218, a lot of the congressmen, the Democratic congressmen that won their elections this past cycle, were within a hair's length of losing. And a lot of them actually came out and said that we will work with the Republicans and we will work with Trump. So you most likely will not see any of this. We're gonna do a one party thing and impeach the SOB. Basically,
no, they're beaten. They know it.
You will probably have some, like a small faction that will probably cling to that, but it's not going to go as far this time around, because I think especially those in those swing states, those Democrats that
they'll get voted out. Yeah, they'll get voted out
because they almost got voted out. If they pull that, if they cling to them to the old guard, they'll get voted out in 2 years.
Well, the beautiful thing about this is that faut donner beaucoup de crédit à les Américains. We have to give a lot of credit to you, Américains, is that you guys are watching your elections like hawks, far more than those of us in Canada did. And this is something that, ironically, I'll actually give credit to the Japanese. The Japanese were doing it first. Their elections have been totally rigged since 1955, thereabouts. It's hilarious. They've had a one-party system the entire time, with the Abe family basically ruling over everything. It's hilarious. I think they're hilarious that way. But the Japanese have been watching their elections and they're voting like hawks. And for the first time, the LDP have suffered massive defeats. And I think this was I would say it starts in Japan and it moved into the US. And Americans have been even more hawkish about this election cycle than even the Japanese. And that's impressive. And
yeah, that's how it should be.
Yeah, this is a once every 80 to 100 years generational shift within the Democrats, the voting public of the country. Because if you look at 80 years prior to the 1930s, like after the 1860s, the Civil War, it was the Republicans that everybody voted for until the early 1930s if you wanted a job. But then when FDR came along, it all switched to Democrat.
Yep.
And right now, it's starting to switch back to the Republicans, but it's doing so in such a way to where now even deep blue districts of New Hampshire, New York, even Illinois are now swing states.
Wow. But so I love that sound you made.
So that's why I'm saying it's probably going to take longer than 4 years, an election cycle, for them to get their act together, because
Fair. I stand corrected.
This woke stuff,
it's on the way out.
It's on the way out, but there's a number of them that still cling to that.
Oh crap.
And
yeah, I can tell you a lot about this, because this is, like you call it, woke. Back in the day we called it the party line, and it, like, they use different words. They kind of changed it a little bit, like
it means the same thing.
Well, now they're trying
the same shit. It's if you can look back, let's say 70 years, maybe again 80 years.
Yes.
During, like, the beginning, the initial period of the Soviet Union, they had massive push for gay rights, massive push for, like, unbridled sexual revolution, no marriages, like extreme sexual liberation and stuff. And then the Soviet government said, "Oh shit, everything is falling apart. We have to clamp down on it," and they just sent everyone to go to the gulags. So
at least it solved the problem.
Yeah, well, they did not solve it. They postponed it. They postponed the problem.
Fair. Well, they also did a lot of murder.
But communism, murder, like, it's like, where's the difference?
Yeah. But at least I stand corrected on the 2028 thing. In hindsight, that was a stupid statement on my part.
So no, you're okay. You know what?
It's because in Canada, like, and Quebec, we get and even France, like, one party will be completely routed, and then, like, 4 or 5 years later, it's back and it wins. And
you got to remember too, you guys don't have an electoral college like we have here.
Sadly, no.
Because you guys have always been run by the popular vote. The founding fathers of my country, God bless them, wherever they are right now, they saw, wait a minute, down the road, knowing human nature, it's going to end up getting corrupt and road. So we got to put in safeguards that keeps things the same, for where nothing really changes radically.
You know what my favorite American safeguard is?
What?
These like things that do bang when you pull the triggers.
Guns.
Yeah. Do you know what the communists did? The first thing. Well, they took all the guns.
Well, that's what the hard left here wants to do.
They took all the guns and they murdered all the lawyers, all the poets, all the painters, all the writers, all the professors, Most of the priests, they basically exterminated the entire like business
They
people.
exterminated the entire artisan,
Yeah, pretty much.
basically.
And after that, like you had, we have our poets, yeah, but I mean,
They tell the line.
they like most of them told the line. They had communist poets, like very, how should I say it, genius minds, a few of them, who were like overly optimistic, and they truly believed that they would build like a future utopia. And of course, the communists murdered them. They killed them.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah,
They
because
just said nope.
they
The
began
first-
to wake up. They began to wake up, and when they saw when they saw what they're doing, they took the guns. They killed all the intelligent people, the business people, and they were like, "Wait a minute, we're not the good guys." Oh no! And
One of the
their
first
comrades
Soviet
said, like,
poets.
this is like you're no longer a true communist. Face
Well,
the wall.
One of the first of the poets in the USSR that did turn on the system, but it began gradually from within, was Boris Pasternak. You familiar with him?
Yeah.
He spent, and if you look at his, there's even a documentary about him on YouTube that's an hour long. I forget what it's called, where it said that his conversion against his own government was gradual from within. When he saw what was, he saw it was basically a ministry of fear, and it took him years and years to write Dr. Zhivago, the book, because he was trying to be very careful with how he did it, because he didn't want to get caught or ratted out.
Well, who could blame him?
But he paid a really heavy price personally after he published it.
Poor
His
guy.
his mistress and his family. And today in Russia, he's considered like the Margaret Mitchell of Russia. Which Margaret Mitchell was the lady that wrote Gone with the Wind.
Yeah, it's one of the things that surprises some people in the West, that this is part of the Slavic soul. The extreme stubbornness, like stubborn levels over 9,000. When you get screwed. And eventually you commit to resist with such stubborn ferocity that not even like not even an asteroid impact will stop you. Your fucking dust will raise from the impact crater and continue.
The best description I've ever heard is one by a Russian friend, and then later by Catherine Elaine. And I've heard, I think you and one other Slav say it. It's banging one's head against the corner of a wall until you get the result you want. And it's a Slavic proverb. Whereas I've spoken with Don Harper on Substack and a few other Celts, and for us, it's if all else fails, just put some wad on, that is to say blue paint, tear your shirt off and go chase with your battle axe outside it, and just kill and slaughter your whoever you don't like until you're calm again, until you can think. That's generally our solution. I can't say it works much better, but actually, in hindsight, it probably works worse than the Slavic solution.
It's still a solution, Monami. It's still a solution.
It's amazing how even the founding fathers of my country did all these safeguards that kept us going for as long as we have, for about 250 years, because they were smart enough even back then to know that human beings, no matter how you think they've evolved, they're animals still. You just
Yeah.
you lock them in a room, you turn off the lights. You'd be surprised how vicious they can become.
Especially if they're Irish.
Yeah.
I say that and I'm part
especially
Irish.
especially if they're Irish ninjas. Then
Yeah.
you're fucked.
Yeah.
Do you
Well, at
do you
least-
know like there is a joke? An Irish guy once told me on another social media. He says like
Ooh.
Ireland has ninjas, and I'm like no, it doesn't. And he says no, we do have them. They're so good that no one can see them. Even they can't see themselves. They're that good.
Fair. I think that's
Oh.
a reference to the Irish tendency for guerrilla tactics in the Middle Ages.
Yeah.
Well,
Pretty much.
Yeah, because they didn't even let the family dog or sheep survive. Sometimes I had to read a bit of Irish history growing up.
Reagan was a great comedian, and one of his jokes was
Oh yeah,
right
I
the
love Reagan.
election was he goes, "Did I ever tell you the one about the kid that was giving away the Democratic kittens at the Democratic convention?" Well, one weekend in the city, the Democrats came in to have their big convention, their fundraisers, and right outside there was this young boy with these kittens in a box, and he says, "Buy a Democratic kitten." So he was handing these cats out. Well, a week later, the Republicans came in the same building, had their convention, and the same kid was there, but this time he was saying, "Buy a Republican kitten." But the reporters were the same reporters there, and they go, "Wait a minute, son. You were peddling these cats a week ago, the same thing. What makes these Republican kittens?" And he goes, "Well, these are Republican kittens because they got their eyes open."
They're no longer blind.
Reagan had the best jokes. He kept he kept cracking jokes about Russia as well.
Yeah,
And what I like is how in some of his speeches he said, "I would call up Gorbachev and I would tell him, Mr. Gorbachev." What was the joke Reagan said? A Russian and an American, an American says, "I can. You know what's the difference between our countries? I can go up to the president's office, slap my hand on the desk, and say, 'Mr. President, I don't like how you're running the United States.' Meanwhile, you got the Russian. Oh yeah, we could do the same thing. What? Really? Yes, I could go up to Mr. Gorbachev's office and slap my hand on his desk and say, 'Mr. Gorbachev, I do not like how Ronald Reagan is running the United States.'"
Yeah.
And it's like Reagan had much better comedic timing than I do, but I remember seeing that and I was almost crying, just and almost peeing myself. It was just.
I think he also said like another joke about the cars, but I forgot it.
I gotta grab something to drink.
Yeah, it's I don't know. I used to, by the way,
You're
read
the one about the drunk driver.
The drunk driver.
Well, he did one where these two guys on the road get into an automobile accident, and they both get out. And they look at the scene. And one guy's kind of like a fender bender type thing. And one guy goes to the other guy, "You don't look so well. Here." He takes out a bottle of whiskey and he goes, "Here, drink this to calm yourself." And then he drinks and he goes, "You still don't look so well. Drink some more." He goes, and then after a while, the guy goes, "If I drink some more, I'm going to fall down." He goes, "No, you just stand there and keep drinking and wait for the police to arrive."
But all right, just to move,
sneaky, really sneaky.
Just to move to something a little more.
Like there is a joke, by the way, about CIA, KGB.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's like a really old joke from like the the beginning of the Cold War. And I recently saw it as a comic strip, but yeah, basically they're given a task to find like a spy who ran away and hid in the forest. And first it's the CIA, and it's like they spend 24 hours using the latest surveillance equipment. They send like trained agents with dogs, and they use satellite like surveillance and everything. And they deduce that like the spy is not in the forest. And then it's KGB's turn, and KGB sent 5 agents in the forest. They find a bear. They beat the fuck out of the bear. They drag it out, and the bear confesses that he's actually not a bear. He's a spy. He's a human, and he has like a social security number and everything. Like this is an American bear. So they basically go into the forest. They find a Russian bear. They beat the living hell out of it. They teach it how to speak, and not just like not just speak in Russian, speak in English. And the bear confesses that he is an American spy.
American spy.
Come on. I laughed so much.
But all right. I guess my next question is, with this Trump victory, how does this affect the culture? Because it will be affected. Because the way a lot of people I'm seeing online are treating this is like a cultural or spiritual renewal of sorts.
Well,
woke has been
I
beaten.
think that this election was our Gettysburg moment, the turning point, or as because this election really was the turning point to determine which direction we would take. Because of Trump's victory, it's going to go downhill for the left from here.
Oh, hopefully.
But if you look at the Civil War, it may have been the turning point after Gettysburg, but it was a hard fought struggle to victory. And you know what? And it's going to be a hard fought struggle to completely cut out this woke cancer that has metastasized in my country.
Yeah. Tom, do you remember how many people died during the coup because of that bullshit? I mean, you're right. Like it was a literal bloodbath.
Yeah. Now, culturally, to turn it back to that, the woke are routed. Woke is it's not as popular in art. Well, a lot of the DI executives and whatnot, or commands or investment stuff, is dying out. It's getting smaller and smaller. But
what they're doing is they're trying to rebrand it instead of DEI into Bridge.
Yeah.
And I think Musk came out the other day and said, hey, they're just going to start rebranding it. And Musk keeps leading the way and keeps saying, hey, they're doing this. And this is what we should be doing. I think Musk is going to be a really big, influential person in getting things back to where it was before all this woke stuff came on. Because you know the story about his one kid, right?
Yeah. But
as his one kid got caught up in the woke mind virus, and he transitioned over, and now he tries to reach out to his kid, but his kid won't have anything to do with him because his mind has been polluted so badly by this.
Yeah, that's the last stage of The like after the indoctrination, after the brainwashing, there is like the last stage beyond which there's like no hope, no return. This is the self indoctrination, and you can see it. Let's say, for example, when Charlie Kirk goes on to the college campuses, and with like Turning Point USA, not just our Charlie Kirk, but a few others. And when one of these like self indoctrinated kids comes up, and nothing phases him or her, like no facts, no logic, no nothing. It's just like they're just regurgitating slogans and bullshit. That's because like there is nothing inside their heads. Like if you have not passed this point of self indoctrination, there is hope for you. You can save yourself.
Well,
You can recover.
it was not too long ago that Vivek Ramaswamy was with Charlie Kirk at one of these things, and they pretty much handed this woke college girl on a silver platter, and she does. How does she respond? She flashes them.
Yeah.
You see that?
Yeah. I
It's
saw
like, really? It's like, your daddy didn't raise you right there, girl.
This is the type of person when they go they complete this process, this last stage of self indoctrination. This is the type of person who would gladly commit any atrocities to promote communism, neoliberalism, like everything like that. They would do horrible shit. And a lot of the concentration gulag camp guards, many of them were like that. Young, quote unquote, idealistic communists who thought that they were cleaning destroying the class enemies, but they were actually like murdering innocent people. People.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
it's horrifying stuff.
Here's an interesting story. I don't know if you've heard this, but these college graduates, the workforce, they're not lasting more than a month. In these big college graduates, when they go into the workforce, they're not lasting past a month because their bosses and they're like, dude, you don't work and you just give us a lot of crap. So they're tossing them, and what they're doing is they're hiring these non-college graduates with a good work ethic, or these kids that if they had an education, they were homeschooled by their parents, and they went into the workforce right after and just worked their way through things, and they're having much better results with them than these college graduates. It's like you're like literally sending your kid, as I think there's a saying that. Kirk Cameron, the actor who became a Christian, said, if you're living in Rome and if you send your kids to a school, to the local school, they will probably come back as Romans. But if you teach your kid yourself your values, you want them to learn your values, they'll continue on with your legacy. But basically, we're just, as Charlie Kirk I think it was Vivek Ramaswamy says, we're just basically sending these kids to Democrat camp is all we're doing.
Mm-hmm. They're being set up to fail. That's the one of the KGB's operations when they were heavily involved in sabotaging the US was like creating this huge mass of liberals, socialists, and basically the idea was that these would be the useful idiots who would initiate the revolution, and after they have like fulfilled their use, the comrades in charge would like take care of them, just like it happened in all communist revolutions.
Well, this.
Yep. Yep. Just look at what it like. One of the, if you haven't, look at the Spanish Civil War. This is the probably the textbook example of how they splinter themselves. And then it's insane. Like they have this if you look at it, like the fringe, starting from the fringe left to the center left, they are so fractured. Like the more the time passes, they fracture more, increasing.
The ideology
Wait.
works. It atomizes and atomizes and atomizes.
And they keep looking for the next new progressive thing to campaign for.
But
And
But arguably, just to comment, this is how the whole of liberalism, born from La Révolution Française, operates. It needs to constantly progress. It needs to constantly progress. It needs to constantly progress. For example, like it might be we have to progress into space, or we have to progress to new sexes or something. The entire, I'll say, religion has to constantly be moving, because if it stops moving for a second, it dies. And that, at least that's what I think about it. And it's not a belief system that's as stable as, say, Christianity, or as stable as, say, I don't know, Shintoism has been in Japan.
Well, it's this woke stuff. It's basically a religion, is all it is. It is a very cruel and unforgiving religion, unlike Christianity or even Buddhism.
Yeah.
There's if the moment you
there is no peace. There is no peace in it.
You're out
peace.
you're out to the boneyard, basically.
Yeah. So, well, my question is, with Trump, in terms of art and whatnot, Eric July said this is just a start. But the thing is, we could either head back into the cultural period of 2016, when we're going to see more woke from Hollywood and art movements and whatnot, and art groups. Or if we double down and us writers and artists try to push forward, we'll see a real change in things. And this could be a more, basically a period of renewal. And because culture and art is a spiritual thing, it'll be a spiritual renaissance of sorts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It'll be
I can see it. Yeah.
It'll be one or the other, a spiritual death or a spiritual rebirth.
I really think we're going to go towards a spiritual rebirth, because
Same.
But there's going to be, like I said, after the Gettysburg moment, there's still going to be a fight to go through to get to the end, to the finish point.
I just wanted to do a solo layout for that. That was an awesome statement.
But the funny thing, though, the interesting thing about that, though, is, oh God, what was it? What were you saying prior to that?
Black Knight? Oh, I said we'll either end up in a spiritual death of sorts and go woke if we let down our guard, or art and books and stories don't come out, and how do I put it? If we get lazy, basically.
Well,
art and culture.
What I think's happening is you're going to have it's going to be in the indie sphere where it takes off.
Yeah.
It's inevitable.
And what's happening is what will happen is all these mainstream publishers will probably go, you know what, we're losing our asses off this woke stuff. And you know what? Then they're actually flocking towards this stuff over here, which is more common based. So let's go back to recruiting, to pulling from those guys instead of these wackos on Wacko Street over here.
Yeah, and let's reopen them madhouses and kind of put the loonies back in the cells and get the lunatics not. Well, we're not going to let the lunatics run the asylum, because
go back to like the way it was before, the way it was in the old days, where if you see a crazy person out in the street, you have a guy in a white van pulls up with two guys in white suits come out and go, "Hey, buddy, you okay? Why don't you come on with me? We'll give you. We'll take good care of you. Come on with us. Come on with us." They take the person away, and
Dr. Jung wants to talk to you. Him and Dr. Freud, they wish to talk to you. Go over there.
Yeah,
you're bothering the nice people.
Is communism in the room together with us?
Is this woke person or thing here with us today? Is it speaking to you right now? If it's telling you to, But I did want to ask on that note of, I guess, rebirth of sorts. Let me see if I can properly do it. Because, I'm currently pushing forward with a crowdfund.
I remember.
Yes, let's hear this.
Yeah, let's see.
Okay, I'm very excited to present the video, but I got to scroll up. If I can scroll up, that's weird. We got a contribution an hour ago. But let's see, because I just know because Dan received it. Let me see if I can full screen this. All right. Okay. So let me just exit full screen. Let me see if I can remove this. Stop sharing. So that was World of Conan who made that for me.
Wow.
Nice.
Now, where else is that video is that campaign gonna be posted? Indiegogo. What other places?
Well, I tried getting it on Kickstarter. I've been struggling. I won't lie. But I'm trying to get it up on GoFundMe. Here.
Did you try? From the yeah, that was exactly what I was.
That was the one. For now, it'll be published through Defiance Press. So, yeah. This is mostly to try to get enough for the first down payment, and then I'll have to pay the rest on my own. The first real prize is going to be a $10 Crown of Blood ebook PDF. And Crown of Blood Part 1 is, the first major project Dan and I have gotten out there so far. From what I've seen, the lowest review I've gotten has been 4 stars, which I think that's a pretty good sign. $20 would be a signed copy of Cross of Secrets, which is a space fantasy story of sorts by Thérèse Judina from over on Substack. She's a peculiar beast. I shouldn't call her beast, but She's a peculiar sort of lady because she started off writing sci-fi epics and whatnot, and she's moved steadily more towards fantasy, which, her the next offer would be her signed Trial by Time, the second book in her sci-fi epic. Then it's $25 for her Shards of Crystal. All these would be signed. Now I had asked her for if I could offer up, her stuff as rewards for $20 and $25 and whatnot. She agreed, because her and I are pretty friendly because we're working also on a project together. I'll get to that in a minute. $30 for a signed copy of Crown of Blood. And this would be signed by Dan and I, not just me or something, because Dan and I co-authored it. And Crown of Blood is a Scottish dark fantasy Shakespearean battle for a crown, I guess. Kind of like Game of Thrones, except with Scotland. There's
And you
$35.
actually completed.
Which is modeled after the War of the Roses, actually, too.
No, well, yeah, Game of Thrones is. I'm
Game
modeling
of Thrones is modeled after War of the Roses.
which is an interesting fact about it.
Do you think you will finish the last book?
No,
No.
Trump derangement syndrome.
all right, he can't finish the book because of
Yeah,
fascism.
fascism. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, no, comrade.
Just
you,
come on, you. I don't know how I should call him, but look at what Solzhenitsyn had to go through. He was I shouldn't have written this because of communism.
Well, I would laugh my head off at the moment he dies, and if they turn to an AI to finish his book series, and it turns it out much, much better than he ever did, and they continue the whole thing.
That would be hilarious.
Yeah, that could happen.
Yeah.
I don't know, because those things 20 years from now will probably be very good at turning stuff out.
Yeah, but not as good as human beings.
Yeah.
$35 for
a lot of them.
Yeah. Well, for $35, I'm offering up a Marioleth mug, which is to say, one with the first piece of art for the Lay of Marioleth, which is a Earth-Elf epic poem of mine. But I recently picked the project back up, so it's going to be coming out as a 10 or 15 page book epic poem with a 60-page prose copy of the story. All included is one thing. This is a project for a year or two from now. And Therese and I are going to be working on the art together and on getting this out as a semi-joint project. So that's part of the reason why I brought her on board with this.
Oh.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be inspired to an extent by Baron and Luthien. The poem, I mean. Yeah, by Tolkien.
From the Sibyllarian.
Yeah. And she drew this because she really liked the first poem. And I love the detailed
She's a good artist.
Yeah, she is. And yeah, I wanted African elves, because why not? And just to be a little different. And she put in all these little details, studying up on a bit of Egyptian art, Greek art, and brought in things like corals and whatnot, because these elves came from across the sea. And so she put in some details like that, references to the sea, and even put in a leopard's fur there as a reference to, because, Africa. And these sort of touches I really liked. But we're going to be making this into merch. But currently it's going to cost a bit. But the merch, this would be some of you guys would get who pay in would be getting the first pickings at the mugs. The Marioleth mug, and there's the the Brotherhood of the Gemstone, or Crown of Blood mugs. So there'd be this art for on a mug, and there's also, let me see if I can find it. Oh, it didn't load. Okay. Let me see. Where is it? I'll just scroll down. This on a mug.
That's from Crown of Blood?
Yep.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I'll be back
that's-
in a minute. Keep going.
No problem. That's Padrig Mekringen. $50 for the whole Ransom Shadow of an Empire trilogy. So all three of her books, her sci-fi books, would be for $50, which is actually cutting the cost, the fees, the price tag quite a bit down. $75 for signed copies of the trilogy and Crown of Blood. And there's $65 for poster art of Shards of Crystal or any of the images you saw above, or for Trial by Time, Veil of Hope, or Ghost Pit. This is Trial by Time, I believe. And there's Ghost Pit right here. I like how she drew the night sky. And there's the Rejection of Argyros. This is this art scene, which would be an 18 by 24 poster. So for this whole scene, which is,
It looks awesome.
yeah, and $70 for Brotherhood of the Gemstone art. For this poster, let me scroll the way down. I can't see the description, but yeah, this artist painted this. This is someone else who did this, Yossi Supatra, I think it is. I hope I pronounced that right.
Do you do the Crown of Blood thing as well?
Yeah, he did Crown of Blood. He did the Darkspire conspiracy art, and he's working on another
Darkspire conspiracy art.
1 second. I was going to say he's also working on another Crown of Blood piece of art. But
Is this an oil painting or
Yeah.
digital?
Well, he drew part of it and did an oil painting for the rest. But this would be a poster that I'm offering because I don't have the original oil painting he did. He's over in Asia, so
yeah, remember what we talked about, like the previous the chat, and I told you that the cover of my second book was an oil painting.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, and the guy is also Asian.
Oh yeah, you did mention that.
Yeah,
I just love how the sea and the mountains turned out. He heard
It's
Scotland
awesome.
and he said, "Oh, so I have to put water and mountains in." And of course, he originally drew the lead with a beard, but we had to tell him, he's actually clean shaven. He's supposed to be a young boy, and he immediately took it off. But we have a copy of it with the beard, which is still
nice.
yeah. Why not keep it? You don't delete that stuff. It's too beautiful. And this is Patrick Mekringen riding off. I believe you've read the story of Black Rose for the madness that grips Padraig here. This is Crown of Blood. I just love how the horse looks. I had to do a study of horses and horse art when I was in animation, so this is just amazing to me. And of course, he's got the mountains. And here I'll zoom out just so I get this whole thing. There. Okay.
That is a phenomenal pick.
Yeah, this is the cover for Darkspire Conspiracy.
Oh, yes.
You can see the Dark Spire or the Witch Tower up in the distance. You have Sigrun to, of course, her lover, Othun. And you have, of course, I've got a few other characters here. I'm not going to say their names. That's for people to find out in a few months when they come out. But this is going to be the cover for that, and I'm offering it up as a poster at the time. It's going to be a Scandinavian Lord of the Rings type of cycle, which is a follow-up to the Volsung saga from Norse myths, which is my favorite of the Norse legends. So at least that's what the crowdfund is all about, and it'll be in the description. And hopefully by the time I get this up on Sunday, I'm hoping that to have the Fund My Comics link ready so people could go there, and I'll include it.
It's amazing. The art is amazing.
Yeah, I know. I'm very blessed in being surrounded by these amazing painters and artists. Both of them paint, and one of them, they both work a little slowly, so it's like a month for them to do things, but it's worth it. You can't rush good art like that.
No.
And no, that Darkspire conspiracy poster, though, like that art, that's going to haunt me. I'm going to be ordering myself a couple of copies of these posters just because.
I wish one day I can reconnect with that artist who drew the oil painting of Emperor's Throne, flagship of Lord Umasa. He by the way, he sent me pictures of the different phases of how he actually planned it, and we kept like talking about it. I don't know if you do the same with this artist.
Yeah,
but it was amazing. I mean, it's a different way of thinking, a different vision. It's like you have a way with words. We have some way with words. They interpret the words, our descriptions, in their own way, as their minds operate in a different wavelength.
Yeah,
they see different things, which is like, and they complete us. Like when we interact with them, like it makes us our work. It makes it better.
Oh yeah, yeah. Because when he came out with the Brotherhood of the Gemstone art, I had just simply told him Cormag was blonde haired, and he like that was almost the only description I gave him, just a young man with blonde hair, and he can't. Cormag looks like, I don't know what I was imagining, but he came out better. And the Darkspire conspiracy poster, like I remember seeing that and I went, wow. And the guy asked, "Oh, is it good enough? If you want, I could redo it." And it's like, don't you touch that.
Don't you dare.
Don't you dare.
Yeah, I was the same way when he showed me like the like probably the latest stage before the end stage, like before the final coloring and everything. He's like, I'm at the stage when I can change like this shape here and add this or remove this. And I'm like, no.
What artist do you use, Black Knight, for your stuff?
I used Neutronborg in the late years. He's slowly redoing like the older covers that were mostly done by random guys, and some that they do not like they have like this vision, but it's a bit different than what it should have been. Yeah, but yeah, that's all of the main books of my main series will be redone. Of course, I will save the old covers, and there will be like
special editions.
Yeah, because some of them were actually made by fans. Like for example,
wow,
seventh book cover was made by Lily.
Oh yeah, you mentioned that.
Yeah, I mentioned this. Yeah, she worked really hard on that. She was like, that's probably one of the people who one of my first fans, and yeah, she. It's not just that. It's not just because that she has like there is a character in the series who is also named Lily. But yeah, she really likes all the characters. She knows the story arcs and it's this is one of the things that I was blessed with. It's just um, it's mind boggling to know that you have people who
Chair.
yeah and who are actually inspired by this and in a positive way, because it's one of the main reasons that I began to write this, to help people be inspired and know that it's not just darkness, it's not just this gloomy soup of woke crap
And despair.
and despair, which is like manufactured. Do you know how I actually decided to begin publishing in English? It was the first Disney fake Star Wars movie. Yeah,
Force Awakens.
The Force Awakens.
Well,
Yes, the farce.
I do have to say, there's the only Disney Star Wars movie that I actually thought was good was Rogue One.
I hate that one.
Yeah, but Rogue One is not a Star Wars movie. It's a war movie.
I hate it more than the others.
Yeah, Rogue One is just a war movie. It has like this paint job slap on it, like the Star Wars paint job, but it's not doing a good job. Like as a war movie, it's well made war movie,
But it
good
retconned
war movie,
It's Operation Crossbow in Space.
pretty much.
But they also retconned out Kyle Katarn, the best character of the original era. So for that alone, an insult.
The
worst-
Disney Star Wars has been fail after fail after fail. Maybe the season 1 of The Mandalorian and season 2 maybe.
But the reason they couldn't bring in Kyle Katarn is you can't have a great man of history
You can.
appearing on screen. Because Kyle Katarn goes, like, for those who know the story, he was the top soldier in the Imperial Academy they ever had. Then he gets to Revelation after he graduates. The Empire murdered his dad. So he flies into a rage. He's hired by the rebellion. He breaks into Kuat and seizes the Death Star plans, breaks out, and forwards the plans to the Rebel Alliance. And from there, he goes on to serve as a rebel kind of Darth Vader.
As a rebel commando, basically. Yeah.
But then
And do you know that
he goes on to become a Jedi Knight.
That's the origin story
Powerful
behind
Jedi.
how they got the plans.
how they got the plans.
Yep.
You remember how Mon Mothma said like a lot of people died for this, like to get these plans. Like he was the one who killed people to get the plans. Like he killed almost like half the base to grab the plans.
Yeah, and in the original runs and stories in video games, he later becomes a Jedi and kills the third Dark Lord, Jarek. Where Vader faltered and Palpatine was half the time drunk, Jarek was actually always on the ball. So Kyle killed the most dangerous of the three in some ways because he was the cleverest. And Kyle then went on to kill one of Luke's first apprentices, who was more powerful than Luke, Dasan. And yeah, Kyle is pretty much well, it's confirmed in the Jedi Knight series he's more powerful than Luke. Leia is more powerful than Luke, and only Leia is really on Kyle's level or almost there. But Kyle's the most powerful Jedi in raw power in the galaxy in his generation. But the reason Luke is the greatest Jedi is because Luke is the wisest and most charismatic, and Luke understands the Jedi teachings the best. Kyle kind of becomes in Jedi Academy his enforcer, like Luke's fist in a way, kind of like how Vader was for Palpatine, except you have a light side version. And you really don't f around with Kyle.
Oh no, definitely.
But he arguably, if you go by the video games, Luke could not have formed the Jedi Order without Kyle, because Kyle, the Sith will say, well, Luke Skywalker, I could screw around and find out. Kyle, gotta run. It's like they're more afraid of him because Luke goes in, he wants to redeem them, and he's genuinely a good man, and he's merciful. Kyle goes in, he's just going to kill them. You're not going to have negotiation.
He was like, you like enough with your evil shit. Like, come, I'll smack you with this like big lightsaber. Like, fuck you.
Yeah. And Kyle's also the one who he won't just defeat his enemies. He'll publicly shame and humiliate them and mock them. Because he has that sense of humor. He was just honestly the best.
He's awesome. He's awesome.
He's Han Solo and Luke Skywalker and Lando Calrissian if they were fused into one character.
Tell me if you haven't played. There is an early shooter game called Dark Forces. Played. I think they remade it in like a modern graphics engine. So you can find it and play it and see the story, like what we talked about. How he stole the plans, like the Death Star plans. How he
stars.
Dark Forces.
There's Dark Forces 1, which is like Doom. Dark Forces 2, where Kyle becomes a Jedi and defeats Jared.
Yeah.
Kyle's also the only Jedi to ever teach himself kind of how to use a lightsaber and use the Force without a Jedi Master. He's kind of weird that way. You have Jedi Knight, Jedi Outcast, where Kyle cut himself off from the Jedi path, then returns to the Jedi, but he's kind of on the dark path. He's heading towards the dark side because he has anger issues. And Luke accompanies him to try to keep him from going down the dark path, and Luke saves Kyle's soul and makes a proper Jedi of him. And then you have Jedi Knight, Jedi Academy, where you play as Kyle's apprentice, Jedi Jaden Korr, and where you defeat the most powerful Dark Lord in history, Marco Ragnos. And in there, Kyle has gone from being Luke's, well, I don't want to say apprentice, but Luke was really, Kyle's older than Luke biologically, but Luke was the mentor. He's wiser than Kyle. And so you have...
But he found the plans to both Death Stars, right?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure he did, because I know there's one game where he cameos and he supervises, and I think actually does steal the second plans. But a lot of Bothans did die, but most of the corpses that were found are basically Kyle's handiwork. Wherever he goes, there's just a trail of corpses. And I think there was a cutscene at some point where this is something that Mon Mothma, I think, complains, like, okay, but this time, no trail of corpses, Kyle. No promises.
Yes.
Yeah. Like Kyle's like...
He's like, I don't promise anything.
Yeah, he's just, honestly, he's just the funniest character, but he's also
almost the Doom guy. He's almost the Doom guy of Star Wars.
Yeah.
You ever watch that TV show that used to be on here in America called Justified?
No, never heard of it.
It's with Timothy Oliphant. He was in Hitman, and it was what he did after Deadwood. He plays Marshal Raylan Givens, a guy with the Stetson hat. He basically goes into a room and he goes, you know what we got right here? This reminds me of this Star Wars moment. You know, particularly that scene in the cantina where Han Solo has faced the green guy, the bounty hunter guy. What's his name? Yeah, Greedo.
Greedo. Yeah.
Well, and he goes, well, when I remember when the 90s, they then changed it to where Han did not fire first. Now
It makes more sense.
the question I have is, which of us is going to shoot first?
Haha.
And then the guy panics and pulls out his gun, and Gibbons just shoots the guy dead.
Well, the thing is, I'm of the opinion it makes more sense for Han to shoot second, but there's thematic reasons for that, and that has to do with the idea that Lucas had was a John Wayne type of character who tries to act. He's trying to be the villain, but there's a silver lining of heroism in him, and there's also the fact that George Lucas is the creator. As one of my East German friends, who's a professor, once said, you can find him on YouTube. I think it's Emperor Caligula. He said, if you have a problem with Lucas's vision of Star Wars, get fucked. Because he's the creator. You know, nowhere in any other piece of art or fiction have we ever run into a case where, oh no, the creator knows less than I do, me with my 25 minutes on a keyboard. This isn't how art works. The artist knows what he's doing more than you probably do. At least that's how I kind of perceive it in most cases. Although that said, Kyle's basically a cowboy. He's a sheriff running around causing trouble and taking great pride in it. But he's the only character I've ever seen where Luke says, all right, listen, we're going to go in nice and subtle and stealthy. No attracting attention. Then later, the enemy ambushes Luke, and you have Kyle. What happened to stealth and doing it subtly? You have Luke. He got the drop on me, okay? And you've got Luke. Now, where are you? Tell me you're not on the bridge. Okay, I won't. Or something like that in Jedi Outcast, and it's like, you're on the bridge. Yeah, I'm on the bridge. Well, can you get out? Well, it's in hyperspace. Grife. You just have Luke of all people just cussing like, Grife. Okay. Well, in that case, you're gonna have to do something. Like what? I don't know. Do something. Like Luke's basically going, I don't know. Just do something. Like the two of them just spend 5 minutes in a cinematic scene just bickering and just unable to figure out or decide what they're going to do other than bicker like Anakin and Obi-Wan, which is I thought pretty charming. But with Disney Wars, they removed this character, and they also removed honestly the best bromance in Star Wars, which is to say Kyle and Luke. And I do love the Han Luke bromance, but I always love the Kyle Luke one because they're both Jedi, they're both on equal footing, and you have this kind of they take the piss out of each other. One great line from Kyle in Jedi Academy, for example, is you have Luke, I sense a disturbance in the Force. You have Kyle, you always sense a disturbance in the Force. It's weird, is I sense it too. And like I just like how you have Kyle. What's weird is I sense it too. And you've got Luke, Kyle, can you stick around and check things out and investigate? Love to. Why don't you take the kids back to the academy? So you have this weird cowboy, I don't know. It's like they're in a Western.
It's not weird. I mean, it's old. This is one of these like yeah, exactly. That was what I was going to say. It's wholesome. Yeah, because it's rooted in reality. That's why it's wholesome.
And it's also rooted in the archetypes of Castor and Pollux.
Yes,
romance that goes back to ancient Greek mythology. But we can't have that in this.
No, we can't. No. Can't humanize male characters. No. They have to be. At
this point, this is what I say they need to do. They need to stop making Star Wars stuff for at least 10 years. What Lucas needs to do is license it out to a different studio, like what they do with the Warhammer series, and have some other indie creator create their own stuff, and then retcon all the Disney stuff.
Yeah, well, I would prefer to go 20 or 30 years because honestly, I I'm kind of having a bit of Star Wars fatigue with the Disney stuff. And,
Oh God, no! It's like
maybe just 10
Very
years, like
well.
you said.
It's terrible. It's
But I
terrible. And
guess
the last,
it's the thing where they do it one after the other. It gets
Yeah.
tired of them after a while.
the
Too.
last nail in the coffin was the Acolyte.
I didn't even watch that because I don't have Disney
Same.
Plus.
No. Just you can if you want to lose some brain cells, you can watch the witch scene where they sing the power of one, the power of two, the power of many, and it's the most like the cringiest scene ever. This is
Aren't they like a coven of lesbian witches too, or something?
yes, communist lesbian witches.
Oh my God!
that sounds horrible. Or you can gain some brain cells and instead watch Redwall or
Oh yeah.
or watch the Jedi Knight Dark Forces 2 cinematic cutscenes as a movie because it's all available on YouTube.
And it's awesome. It's really good.
It's awesome, yeah. Or you could order Star Shatter or pitch into the crowdfund for Brotherhood of the Gemstone and get Crown of Blood through that.
I actually just rehooked my Xbox 360, and I actually bought 2 Lord of the Rings games today off eBay. I
Which
got
ones?
the Mordor. What's it called? The Shadow of Mordor.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that one.
And the other one is War of the North.
Don't.
And I was going to get the Witcher 2, but I want to start. But that's more expensive than getting the 2 Lord of the Rings things put together.
Oh, didn't know that. All right. I think we're nearing the end of the show, so we'll each plug something of ours. First off, I'll just say remember to subscribe to the channel, and if you're watching it on the Substack, subscribe also on the Substack because Alliance authors. You got to support the Alliance, guys.
Support the Alliance.
Yeah.
But don't forget to check out Black Knight's Substack and array of books available on Amazon. They're quite good. Star Shatter's the new Star Wars. And
how many Star Shatter books do you have now, Black Knight?
I have 7. I am half finished with the 8th and 2 more. But it's like I did pre-plan everything. I have like all the drafts and notes. I just need the time to actually wrap them up. That's the thing.
You're having a Neutron board do the covers to all your books.
Yeah, eventually. Yeah.
Cool.
He did like he did the first one, and he did the 2 anthology books that I have, like which are story collections. A Mandate of Sword and Railgun is the first one, and the second one is The Blood of Tyrants. And he also did my 2 Conan-esque novellas about Velin the Authorian. Especially the second one is insane. This Velin and the Bunker of Death. It's so good. I actually dreamt that. I had a dream about that cover.
Really?
Yep.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. As for myself, people can find me on Substack or with the crowdfund. And yeah, I'm gonna try to get this very Lord of the Rings-ish, well, I should say a Scottish Lord of the Rings of sorts, funded. And well, because if this is going to be a period of artistic and spiritual rebirth, let's go back to 1954 artistically, and let's push a different kind of reset button than what the left has in mind. I say, let's push the reset, go back to some positive nationalism, and just bring literature back, make literature great again, basically.
Let's flush the vomit down the toilet.
Yeah,
And we don't need to look at it while it's washing down, too.
No. We're just
You don't do that. You flip the cover over.
The reason why I say is because some of these doctors, they ask you, do you watch your own stuff before flushing it down, or do you not? Like,
Gross.
well, why would I do that? Well, if you do it, you're psychologically blah, 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 or something. I'm like, that's crazy.
yeah.
No. We're going to scrub away everything that's tainted the principal two genres, and we're going to bring some
You know what?
sanity back.
We can say that wholesome guys do not look at vomit.
Oh, heck, I get sick just looking at vomit.
No more vomiting.
So,
No?
oh my gosh, we went from discussing pork peanut, and
Now we're discussing the side of
genocide
vomit.
to this.
Intellectual vomit.
We have fallen.
I think we better cut now because so this has been Sunday Night's Talks with the Highlandian, Black Knight, and Brothers Kryn. So join us next week, same time, same news, same, I guess, lit stuff. So hopefully same hosts. So take care, everyone.
Stay wholesome.